All right, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. So one of my favorite writers since I was a kid was J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. And one of the most famous quotes from the books is, "Not all who wander are lost," which is a lovely idea, that sometimes people just wander because they want adventure, because they want to see new things. But to be honest, some people who wander are really lost. And that is the case with Jacob in the Torah portion today. He is very lost. He is on the run from his family. He had a huge falling out with his brother, who said he wants to kill him. Well, it is fairly rare that brothers, even when they say, "I'm going to kill you," do it. It's not impossible, but it's pretty rare. Esau was very angry about how Jacob treated him, about the blessing. But Jacob decides to run away anyway, to run away from his parents, and he has absolutely no idea where he's going to go. And it really feels that he's not running away from them, he's really trying to run away from himself in many ways. But as John Kabat-Zinn once said, wherever you go, there you are. He's running. He's now in the darkest period of his life. This is truly the dark night of his soul. He's completely by himself. He has no idea where he's going. He has no idea where he is. But it's precisely in this moment that he begins to find himself. He begins to find out who he really is. And the Torah portion says, "Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelen Charona," that Jacob left Beersheva and he set out for Haran. And that's not where he wound up, though. He wound up in a completely different place for the night. And the commentator Sepharno said that he set out for Haran, but things changed altogether, that he eventually found the place where he needed to be in order to find himself. And the word yotzei, which is to go out, it's really often used in the Torah as going out to war. It says later, "Vayetze lemilchama al oivecha," when you go out to war on your enemies. Moses, toward the end of his life, when he says why he's not going with them into the promised land, he uses the word yotzei. I can no longer go out and come back, yotzei v'nichnas, which is a military term. I can't bring you to battle, and I can't bring you safely back again, and that's why I have to leave. Moses was that very rare leader who understood that his continued leadership was actually going to be a danger to the people, so he stepped aside and put his ego aside. So when Jacob is using the word here, yotzei, it implies that there's a battle going on, but I think it's very much the battle with himself, that he's fighting his conscience. He knows that he's hurt people. He knows that he would not have gotten the blessing just for being himself. And it pains him. And he's really struggling in a very deep way. But within this pain is his liberation. He finally decides that he's going to be who he believes he is meant to be, that he's going to fulfill his own potential, he's going to fulfill his own destiny. I believe each of us has a destiny, which is different from fate. And I'll give you my definition of the difference between fate and destiny. Fate is, this is what you must be. Destiny is, this is who you could be. If you finally tried to figure out who you actually are and make decisions that make sense for who you are. And I think this is what Hillel is talking about. It's a very famous phrase from Pirkei Avot. It says, "Im ein ani li mi li." And I think most people have heard this, "If I am not for myself, who am I?" But I think that the power in this phrase is that you begin with figuring out who you are, and then you try to help other people. Most people do the opposite. They try to help other people, and then afterward they try to figure out who they are. But Hillel is starting with, if you're not going to be you, who's going to be you? You know, Oscar Wilde once said, you might as well be you, everyone else is taken. And so Hillel is saying that if you're not yourself, then who is it that you really are? It's not just standing up for yourself, it's owning who you actually are. And then it says, Uchsha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani. It's not just if I'm only for myself, what am I? It's when I figure out my true nature, what can I be? And ve'im lo achshav ematai, if not now, when? If I'm not going to live my life now, when am I going to live it? And I see a lot of people don't live their own lives. They're living other people's lives. They're living other people's dreams. They're waiting for a certain thing to happen where they can say, oh, I can finally do what I want. You know, we all have responsibilities. We all have things that we have to do. But very often we put aside doing things that we really want to do or showing who we really are because we're afraid no one's going to like us. We create a certain image of who we are, whether it's with our family, whether it's public, and we start thinking this is who we have to be because if we're not that person, everyone else is going to be disappointed. And then you get to the end of your life and you realize that you didn't live your life. And no one else cared. If you had just lived your own authentic truth throughout your life, the people who really matter in your life would have loved you, and the ones who didn't, who cares? It doesn't matter. And very often, we don't face that. And sometimes it takes that dark night of your soul to figure that out. And without going into a lot of details, I experienced that dark night a few years ago. And again, I'm not going into all the details. I can tell you at Kiddush. We'll be here until Shabbos is over. But I experienced probably the darkest moment of my life a few years ago. But within that darkness, I decided I am going to start living my truth more. And the people who get it are going to get it, and the people who don't get it they're just not going to get it. And it's okay. It's okay. But there's a profound liberation in that. And if you're struggling with that, don't use it as an opportunity for self-loathing or an opportunity to be at war at yourself. Look at this as the beginning of the process of liberation. Jacob saw that after that dark night, the dawn came. After he understood who he was, after he understood that he could be a participant in his destiny and that he was not just a victim of fate, that light came up for him and he was able to start living his own truth. That's why we're descended ultimately from the line of Jacob. Because Jacob struggled. It wasn't just that he struggled with the world, he struggled with himself. And he learned to live his truth. And by the way, it can be very painful. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It can be very difficult. It can be very complicated. It might require change, both of circumstances, of people in your life. But when you live that truth, when you own who you are, there is a joy and there is a sense of shalom, a sense of completeness and peace that can't be replaced by anything else. So if you are in that moment in your life, don't look at it as saying, I have failed. Look at it that this is the beginning of my path of liberation. Shabbat Shalom.